So once again, I'll say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much for your presence down here in order to make it possible for us to do a presentation. And now I would like to talk about skincare products. But before that, I will just briefly introduce myself. I'm Sharina Timms, and I've lived in Singapore for 20 years before relocation to Kuala Lumpur. Okay? And the reason why we have come up with all these products was because, as I've told some of the ladies down here, that all my life I've been a very sickly child and a sickly woman. So for 40 years, when I was in London and I was in Singapore, and even in Malaysia, the hospital was my second home. Would you believe it? I've got a VIP card to go into Mount E. So that was the extent of my sickness. But since my relocation back to Kuala Lumpur, the gastric pain that I had for 40 years was healed. Because in Singapore, they say that gastritis was actually caused by bacteria. So when I went check into Mount E, they put this scope into me, and what they told me was that my stomach wasn't diseased, my stomach wasn't lacerated, and there was nothing wrong with my stomach, and they concluded that my stomach was lazy. Have you ever heard of a lazy stomach that doesn't like to be distended? So when you eat something, what happens to your tummy? Does it still remain the same with the food inside you? Of course it will be distended, right? So anyway, I wasn't convinced, but nonetheless, when I went back to Kuala Lumpur, so with some of the herbal products, I can tell you now that I enjoy a life that I never had before for the last 40 years. That is the reason why we came into all these products, all natural, 100% organic. You can't have more organic herbal products than them having been harvested from the foothills of the mountains and also on the slopes. They are grown naturally. So whatever we sell in our company here, they are all mostly, I would say 90-odd%, all mostly organic, natural, no substitute, no replacement, so that all of us will be able to benefit from the food that we ingest. And also remember that the food that we have today, they are not sufficient to nourish our bodies, because with the DNA being tampered with the GMO foods, what happens is, do you all realize, why do we have GMO foods? What do you understand by GMO? What do they actually do with the GMO foods? Does anybody know? GMO foods? What does it do to your body? Anybody with any understanding? GMO is genetically modified foods. What they do is they splice the genes, the DNA of the products. For example, like wheat, because it's largely consumed, therefore they tampered with it, and now they have removed 40 to 60% of the nutrients of the food that we consume. And that's why they're building bigger and bigger hospitals. If the medicines were so efficient, then the hospitals would have shrunk, okay? And for all the products, like for skincare products, we noticed, you see, last time, when I came back from the UK, you know, I didn't remember that the sunlight in this part of the world is very, very potent. So, not remembering to put sunblock, I had hyperpigmentation. And what happened was, I had to buy creams from all the European countries, including the US as well. Nothing worked. As I just mentioned to some of the ladies here, even La Mer, that was supposed to be so good, even for astronaut with burns, that it was supposed to work, but it didn't help at all. So, what happened was, I found that, you know, with all the cosmetics that we frequently use for ladies, they are laced with chemicals. So what do? They actually clog up your pores. And that's the reason why you can see some of the complexion they have got very enlarged pores. And what is the reason for women having to dab on more and more cosmetics? Number one, as I've explained earlier, is the harsh sunshine. Number two is the environmental pollutants. And what do they consist of? Environmental pollutants, what are they? Do we know? Have we got an idea about the environmental pollutants? You see, we are living in a city, right? And with a city, what have we got? A lot. Cars, a lot of traffic. And what do they generate? Carbon monoxide. True? And just as well that Singapore has got trees. Because what do trees do? They absorb carbon and they give out oxygen. Just as well, that was the foresight of Lee Kuan Yew, right? So that helped a little. And then what have you got in our communities? You have got fogging, haven't you? With all the fogging, for mosquitoes and all this. So all these are environmental pollutants. And then what else have we got? Many of us, we forget to take in water now and again. We don't drink as much water as we should. And what happens? We have got very dry skin, especially under air conditioning systems. So we have got dry skin as well. And then on top of that, that is outwardly we got to battle when we leave our homes. Inwardly, what happens to us inside? We have got hormonal imbalance. And then what have we got with all the cosmetics that we use? And what else? Besides that, we also have a very unhealthy diet because of our food preferences. That's why we suffer in a way that we do not realize. And the last thing is unhealthy lifestyle. What constitutes unhealthy lifestyle? Do we know? What is unhealthy lifestyle? I mean, how many of us can say rightly that we have got a very healthy lifestyle? How many of us can say that? Anybody with a very healthy lifestyle? No, right? Unhealthy lifestyle means what? Can you give me some examples? Yes. Yes. Eating greasy food? Yes, the greasy food. And the worst thing is, you have your favorite curry laksa, you have your favorite nasi lemak, and then after that, what do? Oh, I must have a cold drink to cool me down. So what does the cold water do with your curry inside the stomach? The walls of your intestine will be what you call lined up with what you call sludge. Sludge is basically the oil that reacts with cold water to form sludge on the intestines, small intestines, the walls of your small intestines. And then we wonder why, no matter how much we eat, we cannot put on weight. Because the villi that is on the walls of the small intestines, they are being covered with sludge. So how can they extract the nutrients to go inside you? So you see, with all the things that we are battling, do you think that we are going to have flawless, beautiful, radiant, fair and gorgeous complexion? Will we have that? It's fighting a losing battle, isn't it? Every day we have to go out and battle the elements within and without.